Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this video we are looking at the Star Wars Black Series 6-inch Han Solo and Tauntaun 2-pack. So obviously the big feature of this 2-pack is the Tauntaun, so let's see how tall he is. He's about 9.5 inches tall, depending on how you have him standing. Makes him about 23 centimeters. And to have Han in comparison, he stands up to about the Tauntaun's shoulder, which makes him about... well, he's about 16.5 centimeters, which is about 6.5 inches. We'll look at Han in a minute. First, though, I want to look at the Tauntaun, because that's probably what most people are interested in. So he has a pretty decent paint job for the most part. If you look at the face, there's a lot of shading, there's a lot of paint work. It might be a little basic looking in some places, but for instance, the horns, they actually look really good. So it's a nice looking figure. It's not great. There's no real shading on the fur. We do have some paint variation. The hands are painted with the claws and all that kind of stuff. But it does look a little cheap in some places. The mouth is one of them. It's not the best. The packs and things on his back are painted well enough. They're not great, but they're not really a problem, so it's alright. It's acceptable. He looks okay. It feels a little bit cheap. It's mostly hollow plastic, but I pretty much expected that. As far as articulation goes, the shoulders are on swivels, so they don't have a whole lot going on. It's just that. Same thing with the hips. The hips are actually a little bit loose, so you're going to want to be careful with that to make sure that they are holding up the figure. You're probably going to end up leaning him on his tail. The ankles do have a pegged hinge, so they can rotate around, and they have the hinge in there. That doesn't really provide for that much posability, but it is there, so it's up to you. And the head is actually articulated like a regular head. It has the hinge and the ball peg on it, so you can move that around a little bit. He has the harness up here for Han to hold on to, and the stirrups down here, I think they're called stirrups, have a little peg in there for the feet to peg into. So he can fit on there. It's just not particularly great. You can kind of force it, but you're probably going to want to pose him next to the Tauntaun rather than on it. So that's it for the Tauntaun. Let's look at Han himself. He's not a bad figure at all. He's okay. A little bland looking though. The jacket leaves a little bit to be desired, I think. It is well detailed where the paint is, and it generally looks okay. It's just not super interesting. It's mostly just a dark blue jacket with gray pants. It does look good though. They did paint the boots, and it's all nicely sculpted, so can't really complain too much. The belt is well done. The little yellow thing on his glove is painted, so what's there is well done. It's just not a particularly interesting design. There's nothing really we can do about that. As far as the hood, it can come off. There is a little split back here, so you can just kind of pry it apart and pull it off. It's best, I've found, to take it off from the front by lifting it over the face just a little bit. See if I can do this on camera. And then lifting it off from the back. It's a little stiff, but you can do it. So there's that, and he does have the little hood thingy from the movie on underneath. It's not a great face sculpt. It's acceptable. It's not nearly as bad as Luke, but it's definitely not very good. One of the accessories we get with him are these goggles. Or is this... whatever. They don't look very good. They look okay as far as the sculpt and everything. They are painted, but you can't really fit them on his head and make them look right. They just don't work. So that's kind of a pass. We also get this binocular type thing, which is okay. It's just lacking paint severely, so it doesn't look very good either. So that's a pass. And then lastly, we get the blaster, which of course we need, and that they did a pretty good job on, so that's alright by me. As far as the Han figure and articulation, I almost said accessories again, we have pretty much standard articulation for the neck. We have the hinge and the ball peg. The shoulders are fixed hinges, so you can move them around and swivel them. No bicep swivel. We get that down here in the elbow area, where we also get our hinge, like that. And we get our swivel at the glove, which means no actual articulation in the wrist. He has a diaphragm joint at his waist, which does provide some posability, just not a whole lot. The belt is a separate piece, and this is a really soft piece of plastic, so it won't get in the way of the articulation too much. You can bring the legs all the way forward. You can bring them out to the side, about 45 degrees. You get a thigh swivel, double jointed knee that works really well. And we get our decent ankle rocker. which works pretty nicely. Ankle hinge, ankle rocker. And there you can see the pegs for the stirrups. So the Han figure is decent. It's not particularly interesting, but it's executed well enough. And the Tauntaun, it's executed well enough also. It's kind of like a big accessory rather than a figure itself, but it's okay. So if you are into adding some variety to your collection, this is a set you might want to pick up. I think I recommend it overall. It's not the best quality overall, but I do recommend it. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.